are listening to the Good Girl Podcast. My name is Cameo King. I'm the host of the Good Girl Podcast. The Good Girl Podcast is a podcast that is redefining what it means to be good through uncomfortable conversations. I call those uncomfortable conversations, I call those confessions. So every week we have someone on sharing a confession. The goal is to heal. The goal is to set free. And above all else, for you to walk in your authenticity, because I believe that is how you get the best out of life. I believe that is how you live in your purpose. That is how you walk in your purpose. And honestly, I believe that is how you walk closest with God, being who God created you to be. But we're going to talk about some uncomfortable truths. And so this week is a little bit different. I brought my girls on. I'm going to bring them on in. What up, Reka? What up, Carla? Hey, y'all.
Hey. I'm like, look, Cameo hype today. Okay.
I haven't had that much coffee today, right? I'm just trying to drink some water. But I'm excited about today's topic because the world is the world is trying to open up. I think the world is opening up a little bit too quickly, but we're here. And I don't want us to forget some of the lessons we've learned in 2020 or early 2021. But before we get into that, I want you guys to introduce yourselves. Reka, if you want to go, and then we'll hop to Fly Carla.
All right. Well, no, I'm honored to always be on the Good Girl Podcast and help my girls out. So my name is Reka, and I am the Single Girls Life Coach, and I help women discover their worth so that they can stop tying their worth and identity to men and stop being a man pleaser. So I'm an NLP certified life coach at that. I like to throw that in there, like, shoot. Yeah.
Put some respect on your name.
Exactly.
All right, Carla.
Hey, thank you for having me. I am Carla Thomas, better known as Fly Carla. I am a multimedia creative. I am a writer, stylist, TV host, just all around fly girl. I run this fabulous website called theflygirlguide.com. And I have a wonderful book called The Fly Girl Guide to Next Level Living, where I have mapped out 5 steps to get you to the next level that God is calling you.
Hey, always trying to move to the next level. And all three of us, we have something wonderful, something stupendous, something just ridiculously amazing in common. Outside of the fact that we're Black women, but we all attended the Mecca, Wakanda University. We attended Howard University.
HU.
You know?
Yes.
I know. And sometimes it's like, I have to remember sometimes. And then when I tell somebody, oh yeah, I went to Howard, and then their excitement is like, oh yeah, I did that. I did that.
That's exactly what it is. So I'm excited to hop into this conversation. But first, what I always do for our guests, I hope you guys are ready, Reka and Carla. I hope you have practiced, did your skills. And so to bring us in the present, I think it's so important to come into the present, right? We do not have the next 10 seconds. We don't have the past 10 seconds, but I want you all to bring us into the present moment with a song that represents where you are right now. And you got 5 seconds to go. So Carla, you're going to have a little bit more lead time because I'm going to go to Reka first, but I'm going to count you down, Reka.
Okay,
you ready? 5, 4, I should have gave you 3. 3, 2, 1.
1. Don't pick up the phone. You know he's only calling because he's drunk and alone. 2.
I don't know that song.
That's an old song. It's old.
No. It's Dua Lipa, New Rule.
Oh, I thought it was like Black or something.
well, shoot. Dua Lipa is like from Israel or something. But
yeah, I know she is. Okay.
Yeah, y'all know. Y'all know I work for a pop station, so I get all the pop, all of it, all of the Britney Spearses of the world. That's what I get. So, yeah.
I need to go look her up because I don't know. Because I was really about to go. Okay, 1. So I thought he was about to start singing Snoop or something. 1, 2, 3 into the 4.
Snoop Doggy, Dr. Dre is at the door. Hey, West Coast forever, baby. West Coast.
Funny.
Okay, Carla, you had a little bit more time. You ready?
Oh my gosh, I can't sing though.
It's okay. Neither can I. We right here with you. 5. I'm counting you down. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay. It's time to boss up. Fix your credit, girl. Let's get it. Get your bag up. Hit that gym. Get back 5. Go get that degree. Girl, focus on me. Unlock potential that you didn't know you had. F that N-word.
What? This sounds like a Lizzo song. What song is this?
This is Vito. It's called "You Got It."
Yeah, I know. I knew that part. F that ninja.
Okay, well, listen, I'm gonna have to add this to my, because what people don't know is that we're all in a group chat and Carla be sending songs, and I literally have a list called Carla's music. So
Yes.
I'm gonna add that to my my list.
It's such a great song. Like you get that motivation. It's like remind you who you are. Like yes.
I love it.
It's interesting because Carla, when you start singing, I said, no, Carla can't. Yeah, she's right. She can't sing. She can't.
You know, God knew what he was doing. Because if I could sing, I would be a star. I would be Beyonce. So, you know,
I feel you.
He wants to keep me humble. So here we are.
Got it.
I would have been a mess. I would have been a pop star over here spending up all this money and dating all these rappers.
I would have been right there with you, girl. So I typically go, you guys can count me down. I don't even know what song I'm going to sing, but if one of you guys want to count me down, what song am I going to sing? I don't know, but count me down. I'm gonna, whatever hits my heart, I'm going to sing.
Right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Celebrate good times. Come on. That's all I know. That's all I know. That's all I know.
That is the most important part.
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good to bring us into the present. I'm really about celebrating, being excited about life and what's coming next for 2021. So that brings us into actually our topic. And I don't want us to forget, and this is why I'm having this topic. This is why we're having this conversation, is because I don't want us to forget the lessons that we learned in 2020, or even the lessons that led us into 2020, like that late 2019. I think some of us may have had an idea of what was coming based on how we were prepared previously. But many of us went through some very challenging times. We were forced to switch and pivot. Some of the things we depended on crumbled. Things that we thought would never closed and changed how we just went about life. And I think that there are some very valuable lessons in there that we can garner from one another, but I just don't want us to lose it, right? Because as soon as the gates of the US of A's opens up, I think it's going to go to the back of our mind because we're excited about living life. And so what I want to do is I want to talk about that one lesson that you will never forget, that one lesson, that one thing that you said or that you realized you will never, ever go back to based on your experiences in 2020. So I'm excited to hear from you guys. I don't know if I feel like I'm in church. I don't know if one of y'all got a burning testimony that you want to share.
I could go first. There's two things that popped in my head when you initially asked us this question. So I'll start with the first one. And it was that something that I learned this season that I'll never go back to, working for somebody else. I will never do that again. After Will Smith has that saying when he does the whole story. I don't know if you guys heard it, but he does the whole story about when he went bungee jumping, and what he realized is that God puts the best things on the other side of fear. And so that's why the Bible talks about do not, don't have fear, sufficient for the day, blah, 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 a lot. Like, I think fear is one of the most repeated words in the Bible, right? Or do not fear. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like do not fear, right? That phrase. And so in September of 2020, and I'm sure we'll maybe go into this and you'll have more questions, but I'll just say this. In September of 2020, I came to the realization that in this season now, I am called to speak to women who need to hear that singleness is not a punishment and that they are worthy regardless of their relationship status. In the set of doing radio the way that I was doing it and the way that I was hired to do it for the past 18 years of my life, I couldn't do it that way. And so it was really an ongoing thought for the past maybe 2 years, but it was September of 2020 when I said, okay, do you just believe that there is a Jesus, or do you believe in his promises? Do you believe in that? And so I stepped down from doing morning radio after 7 years, that full paycheck, full benefits, all of that. And I went full throttle for my business. And yeah, so I will never, ever go back to working for somebody else. And that is on God.
That's on God. That's on God. I have a in terms of the things I will never go back to, one of the largest lessons I learned is kind of connected to what you said. And I feel like I'm in the reverse, but it's really about learning what faith really is. We have this idea here, but when it becomes practical, when it becomes like, when you have to put your hands on it, whatever that means, it's totally different in how God responds to our faith, and also how God is not a genie, and also, but how faith also is a thing that moves God. And I know we've heard these things over and over again, like you won't see the whole staircase. You just have to keep walking. But what does that look like practically, in your life, and also in combination with listening to the Holy Spirit? Like, I can say, I want $1 million, but also faith without works is dead. And is God calling you to do that? So how are you going to work for that? And also keeping in mind that everything is by the grace of God, that I'm able to work, that I'm able to have these ideas, that I'm able to sit in my home and talk to you guys, and I'm able to connect. And so I'll go deeper into that, but that was a part of my lesson, that like, I just know that faith looks different for different people, but for the most part, in my humble opinion, it functions the same. God is calling you to do something, and you have to make that first move. You are not going to see the whole staircase. And neither is also about like romanticizing God. I think that plays a role into what faith looks like. So.
Right. And I don't know if you've ever seen that interview with T.D. Jakes and Stephen Furtick, when Stephen Furtick interviews Pastor T.D. Jakes about his book, Soar. I believe it was Soar. But anyway, that was one of my favorite quotes that came out of that interview, when Pastor T.D. Jakes said, he makes trees, and then you have to figure out what to make out of that tree, basically. And I'm paraphrasing, but it was so good, because he was like, what we old school Christians like to do is, God, send me this. God, please, please, please. And we just sit there and pray, when actually faith, like you said, faith without works is dead. So God gives us the ideas to make a tree into a house, to make a tree into whatever, to make an iPhone, to make whatever. God doesn't make iPhones, but what's his name did? Steve Jobs did. Like the idea comes, to you, and then we have to work it. We have to work that out. So if you have not seen that interview, I'm telling you, it's such a good interview.
I was going to say, with taking that leap of faith, I know that God wants us to have that childlike attitude that I think that we often grow out of, we often forget. And I also think that intelligence, where we are, so educated that we don't understand how faith works. But for me, it's when I have to just take a step back. I have to say, like, this is something that is supernatural. And that is how I am going to get to what I am seeking and what God is placing for me. Because it's kind of like I was in Cancun, and I was on like this cliff, and this little girl kept jumping off this cliff. And I'm just like, how this little girl jumping off this cliff? And I'm scared to jump off this cliff. And this little girl's like, you can do it. And I was like, we lose that childlike innocence, right? And so when we're presented with things that take us to that next level, or our dreams, it's like you literally have to say, I am going to take this leap. There are people around me doing it all the time. I see people taking these leaps, and I just have to trust that God is going to be there. So yes, I think it's having that childlike innocence, that childlike mindset, and also stepping back from how educated we are, because we can think of so many ways why this is not going to work, as opposed to like, this is something supernatural. And so I just have to believe that it's going to work. And it's really like one foot in front of the other. And then God rewards the faithful. So when you are sitting here, like, you are thinking about it and then you take that leap, he is going to reward you for taking that leap. And so
yeah, that was beautiful, Carla. And I think we too we oftentimes get in our own way because it is so hard to believe. I think Lovey, she has a new book coming out. I think it's called The Professional Troublemaker. And she's talked about it a little bit, but she talks about how she has wanted to pass on. And I'm paraphrasing, I'm probably going to get this all wrong, but I'll tell you how it resonates in my spirit. It's essentially like we have done a good job of passing along fear, of passing along doubt to the next generation. But I want to pass along courage to you that you can do this, that this is going to happen. And it also reminds me of the fact that God is not a respecter of persons. And so if someone that you may not necessarily agree with how they live their lifestyle, but they're moving by faith, God is out there. I got you. You want to do this, you want to do that, and you are moving by faith because you're believing me for this. And again, I'm not saying God is a genie or anything like that, because I think there are some nuances there. But if you are working in your calling, if you are look at this cat trying to she wants to be
she's so cute. Right. She got something to say too.
She does. If you're working and if you're operating in your calling, I just believe God shows up for you to move you to the next level, because it's also a part of the glory of God and giving that glory back to him. Like, this is what I have. I am who I am because of you. So this faith versus fear is it. It is it. Because I think fear is the thing that definitely keeps us from moving, from doing, from being, from existing, even communicating, even to reaching out to somebody, or even to daring yourself to actually move to that next level, or having the audacity to believe that you deserve something. On the other side of that is definitely fear. So that was beautiful.
Yeah,
I love it.
Oh, so what did I learn? The lesson of 2020. Oh, I guess for me it's a lesson about rest. Because I was always just so busy. Like, I moved into my apartment at the end of 2019, December 2019, my apartment in New York. And before the lockdown that happened in March, I could count the number of times that I was literally in my apartment because I was always just so busy. I was always traveling. And so when the lockdown came, I saw it as a time to just rest, and just knowing that we're not going to probably get this time ever again, where nothing is open. You can't go anywhere. I couldn't even go to the gym, which I love my gym. Can't travel anywhere. This is the longest period I've ever been without being on an airplane. So not seeing family, but really just resting and the fact that this is the time to rest and reset and be thankful for that. And I understand that some people had a hard time with the lockdown, but I just looked at it as a lot as free time for me to create, as free time for me to do a lot of self-care, as free time for me to read. Like, I was doing so many great things with my website, just finding all kinds of opportunities with sponsorships. Like, this last year has been the most profitable of my website since I've had it, and I've had it since like 2008. So this has been the most profitable. So it's just that resting, and just being okay with that. And I understand that some people had they faced anxiety. They weren't. Some people aren't okay with being in their own thoughts. But for me, I kind of just welcomed that, and I didn't take that time for granted. Like, I still was busy. I still would get up and have a routine and just pivoting of all the things that I like to do and what brings me joy. But it was just resting and living in the moment. And I don't want to take that for granted, because once the world starts opening, I assume I'm going to be right back busy again. I'm about to be on an airplane again. I'm going to be too busy to actually like just enjoy myself, cook myself a nice dinner. So I definitely don't take the time to rest, because sometimes God does want to sit us down, like sit your butt down, girl. Like, and it is okay. And maybe it's a period of getting closer to Him, getting closer to family. Because even in this lockdown, like I already talked to my mom, but it was already like, okay, I'm about to get on a flight, like gotta go. But now it's like I am literally having like hour-long conversations with family, my mother, my father, and friends. Where before it wasn't as cultivated, we weren't really growing. So yeah, I will not take I not take 2020 for granted for the period of rest and what God wanted to do to me and want me to learn in that period.
I just believe rest is probably one of the major themes that we can continue to take into 2021 or as the world opens back up, because it is so valuable. And that's something too I've learned to honestly just shut it down, no matter how much work I have to do, but really to shut it down, and that the day will take care of itself, that the world isn't going to end, that God is going to work it out, and that you are not superhuman, but just to sit your little happy tail down and go to sleep.
Girl, rest is real. It's none of that get up and grind and sleep is the enemy of that of what is it?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I know what you're
Whatever.
talking about too. Yeah, I never ever agreed with that because I like sleep, but I think that is definitely part of faith, and I don't know why Christians, we don't talk about the resting. God wants us to rest on the Sabbath and all of that, and so we don't talk about that. But y'all know my quote for this year was definitely strategy and obedience is my job, outcome is God's. So I've been really working and trying to fine tune. I just get my to-do list for my business done because yes, of course I'm scared. Of course it's there. It's right here. It's like, ain't you scared? Ain't you scared? Ain't you scared? And I always have to do, God will take care of me. God, because truth be told, I have only 2 months left in my emergency fund that I have saved up to step down. But I have that grant on the way and other things, whatever, God. But I'm trying to really practice the walking by faith and not by sight. So when I look at my bank account, it's like, okay, God,
And
what are we doing?
As an entrepreneur, this is the life of entrepreneurship, right? It's like sometimes you have a lot of coins and sometimes you don't. And I feel that I don't know if we understand that until you get into that aspect.
Right.
You're just think, oh, I'm gonna get some money, have some money, but really it's like it's ebbs and flows, right? It's like sometimes you're gonna have some coins, sometimes you're not gonna have some coins, but the goal is to also just keep going, and so you're gonna be fine. And by month, like the end of the second month, like God is going to bless you. You're going to get something come in, and you're going to be fine.
Right, and definitely the beauty of it is I already know that I do with the grant that's coming. But on the outside of that, because that'll run out too. It all runs out, so it's definitely, like I said, strategy and not blowing all of my money on whatever and just stashing some away. So I definitely know, even by my strength, that I will be okay. But the Bible says I can do all things through Christ. So then it's then on the outside of where I am, I definitely have faith in Him. But I love the resting part because I think even in entrepreneurship, and you guys can tell me if I'm right or wrong on this, but there's that I'm missing out on something. I have to post this post. I have to do this. So there's a lot of that, but it's like, I'm trying to really just be like, no, I did my to-do list for today and I'm not going to miss out on $1 million because I didn't do X, Y, and Z. If it's my millions, God has it coming my way, period.
Because that's what it feels like.
Because that's what it feels like. Because it's like I'm working. Go ahead.
And I say that because I did a podcast a while ago, and it's about the grind culture, right? And very much how the grind culture taught me. And I'm not saying everyone else. I'm not saying this is what they were teaching, but this is how I interpreted the grind culture because I wasn't including the God factor. But it's as though if I work hard enough, I can make God hurry up, right? if I work hard enough, like if I just post this one more thing, if I just grind for 2 years, or if I just do this for this whole week, and then boom, this thing is going to happen. God is going to bless me. But that's not how it always works. And I know earlier I talked about God responding to our faith, but I also think in there that there is a timing, right? That there is a timing when it is appropriate for you to do whatever God has called you to do, when it's appropriate for you to move to the next level. And then also, again, it's these nuances that we talk about when we hear these things and how they rest on our heart, and then how they manifest and how we perform in them. The other one I heard recently was that God is like, we're never waiting on God. God is always waiting on us. And so one of my prayers is like, well, God, what you want? You know, what you want from me? Because I'm ready to go. I'm ready to move. I'm ready to do. I'm ready to elevate. You know, I've been here for a while. I've been frustrated at some point in time, but I'm ready to move. I'm ready to go. And God did reveal, but at the same time, I can't believe that God would just allow me to sit somewhere, and knowing that I have this desire that God put in me, not that I put in me, but that I have this desire to move forward, to grow, to accomplish, and that he would just allow me to sit. And so I think that there are nuances, even in resting, that there is a grace there too, for when we mess up or when we aren't, necessarily in sync. But I also believe in the rest, there is a trusting of God, that if I rest now, that God is taking care of whatever I need to take care of. And also that I did my due diligence in terms of whatever I needed to take care of today, that I studied, that I posted, that I did whatever I had to do. And I think that's where the rest factor comes in unknowingly, while we grind so much, because again, things we've heard, and I don't think people necessarily meant it this way, but they said, work like you don't pray, and pray like you don't work. And I get it, but I also think that thinking is somewhat faulty. I don't know, but I think, go ahead.
I think that it's kind of like a mixture of both, right? Like you have to kind of figure out how it works for you in your prayer life, in your faith, and how God wants you to move. So I think it's definitely a lot of self-reflection and getting close to God so you can really hear him, so that you do know how to operate and how to move. Because for me, like faith, like I know, like my really closest friends are like, girl, like they think that I'm fearless because of how I operate, because I'm just like, God's going to do it. He's just going to do it. Like sometimes I feel a little delusional, but I'm also like, God is going to do it. Like I just know that he is. But I think I always still set myself up for success, so that I know that God is going to do it. Like these are all the wheels that are turning and the missing parts that I know that God is going to work it all out. So,
that's where the, go ahead. I was going to say, that's where the works comes in.
Yeah. So, but I get like, it's like that hesitation and of how do we become so fearless that we are just operating more in faith. So I don't know. Sometimes I think I'm just so delusional on almost everything that I'm just like, it's gonna work. It's gonna work.
But that's that childlike spirit, and you know what I mean? Because I what was one of the things that I said to you a few weeks ago or whatever? It's like when you were like, yeah, I'm reaching out to this person. I was like, I need to hit up Carla to get some tips on reaching out to people for sponsorships and stuff, because I have so many ideas. And I'm so used to being the talent that I've never had to do this. So there's definitely a learning curve that's happening for me in this season. But I agree with you. It is both, but it's not, to me, grind culture isn't every night for 2 years. I'm up till 3 a.m. and I get up at 6 a.m. to now do the thing, because then I have to work out so I can be a part of the 5 a.m. club. Then I have to do No. It's what works for us, right? So for me, I'll just use the grant as an example. Again, it's like I could just pray for money to fall out of the sky, but it's not. God is not a genie, as Cameo said. So what I do is I pray for money, but then I also apply for the grants, right? And it's like, so then I get this grant, and I was like, God is going to do this. God is going to do this. And I pray that he does. And even if he doesn't, then I'll get the next one, because I'm going to get one, if I'm doing the work. That is the work. And then just have faith that everything will work out for the good, because that's what the Bible promises. Like, everything will work out for the good of those that believe. So.
Yeah. And so for me, I've had a lot of different lessons this in 2020, but if anything, I think my overall lesson, I feel like it's really cliche, but it is to trust God. It is to trust God. Trust God and know God. Not necessarily know church, but know God. Because there is a...
Listen. Right. Oh my God. Yeah. Say it again. And I need to write down what you had said earlier. I could work as hard as I can and make God hurry up. Something like that.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna have to rewind, but yes.
But because there's a difference, and we have been so much embedded in our quest to get to know God and our quest to just be good human beings. I think we have adopted some of the tactics and strategies that work for our grandparents, right? Or may have worked for our parents, but they don't work for us. And we have become, we've idolized, and we have made the followings, the guidelines of the church, the Bible, and it's not, right? We have made that our God, and it's not. And in this process, like when I say trust God, even before COVID hit, I didn't realize it, but God was preparing me for this season. It sounds so churchy and so cliche, and I don't like it, but it's true. It's true. But I went through a rough patch, y'all, like in 2019 and 2018, in terms of jobs, in terms of just things across the board, random stuff, from having like minor surgery to my mom coming back from Florida and staying with me. So just all this stuff, and nothing was stable. When I say absolutely nothing was stable, but God, like in terms of God providing for me month after month after month and not having a job. Like, how do you do this? And so I almost got used to that uncertainty. And also, but when you get used to that uncertainty, I learned to trust God. I learned that no, manna is gonna fall from the sky, right? This doesn't mean that I didn't work, but I did everything I could, and it created this relationship and me understanding a characteristic of God, that I am who I say I am, regardless of where you are. And that's what brings me back to trusting God. Right? Like not having a car. And then my homegirl's like, hey, I have this program at MSU and I have to use their vehicle. So do you want to use my car for like 2 months? I'm like, what?
Yes.
Look at God.
Listen. And so like trust, like that's the lesson I don't want to let go of. Because I think we trust God until we get into a situation where we have to trust God, right?
Yeah, and we think that like God's blessings or whatever is wrapped up in our, what we can accumulate, our money and living in this big house, because we all have that dream, most of us, right? Like, even if it's not to be a millionaire, it's like, I just don't want to have to live paycheck to paycheck. Mm-hmm. But even when we are, God is still there. Like you said, like, how do you not have a job and you still surviving? Because God says sufficient for the day. He's not worried. He ain't worried about what we worried about. And yes, should we be smart with our money? Like I said, I do believe in savings and all of that, because honestly, we're not supposed to be borrowers either.
I got it. We understood.
Right. I'm like, what's the word? What? We're not supposed to be that either. But God says sufficient for the day. So that when I find myself in that moment, I always say, do I know where my food is coming from today? Okay, then I'm good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I definitely feel like with COVID and the pandemic, just trusting God for each day, to make sure that like I'm COVID free, my family is COVID free, like my friends are COVID free, you know. So it's definitely I get that of just trusting God for each day, and making sure that we have been safe and healthy throughout this whole pandemic.
I wholeheartedly agree with you guys. I also believe, because something else that had challenged me during this time is that maybe my family wasn't COVID free, or maybe someone else was going through what I was going through, and they weren't necessarily provided for in the way I was provided for. Does that mean God didn't bless you? No, it didn't. Does that mean that his grace was not sufficient? No, it wasn't. And I think that's something hard for us to swallow, because we also have this idea, and I think Reka, you alluded to it, that blessings only come in a certain form. That only when you are, well taken care of, and you're not living paycheck to paycheck, or when you do have a vehicle, that you are blessed. And I even challenge that I believe we are more blessed when we are, and I hate the idea, but we're forced to commune with God, and we're forced to be dependent on God, because you literally don't know where your next meal is coming from, because you don't know how you're going to survive. So you're talking to God like, yo,
what's good?
we got one more week. I'm about to call somebody. I'm not about to be out here twerking and shirking on the road, but but like what's happening. So you begin to commune with God in a different way, and you get to know God in a different way, and you really understand what it means to be blessed. Again, no shade. I think if you do have a vehicle, you are blessed, but I think it is above all else because you have this communion, because you have this relationship with God. That's for me. That's what it means to be blessed.
Absolutely. And I know that I'm definitely privileged in the fact that I've never had to really wonder where my next meal was coming from. I've never been in that space. But I do know that God is there as well. And also there are people around those people, I hope at least. Obviously, I don't know, everybody's struggling, but that will bless them, right? So It's like the food banks and all of that are here for those who are truly, 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 truly in need. I know that there's availability, and the Bible says a closed mouth don't get fed, literally and figuratively. So I would agree that God is still there, even if you feel like, where is he? Because I can't pay my rent. I just don't believe that I don't believe that means God, that doesn't mean God is there. If you're like, yeah, well, I can't pay my rent. So
yeah. And joy comes in the morning, which also sounds very cliche,
right?
and very tough and hard when you are going through something. But it is when you're going through something, that's when God is like working it out for you, though. That is when you have angels, clapping on your behalf. You're like, things are going to shift. It's not always going to be this bad. So even in tough situations, like God is wanting us to trust him in all situations. That's what's the scripture, like, I know what it is and want, and when I have, so God wants us to always be trusting him, not just when things are all rosy, but when things like hit the fan. Like, he wants us to dive deep and believe that things are going to turn it around. So that's a really good lesson to hold on to throughout the pandemic and even beyond, for sure.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you mentioned that verse. Like, I know what it is. I think it's the Apostle Paul who says, I know what it is to be full and hungry. And for me, I don't want to say I experienced that, but how I related to that is kind of like oftentimes this duality that we sit in, of when there are two truths and we don't know what to do with them, two opposing truths and we don't know what to do with them. But I think for Carla, what you mentioned, how that hit me is just like, we always also need to have a hunger for God, regardless of what's happening, regardless if we're here or here. Oftentimes the here, the lower part, that makes us hunger differently. But when we're floating high and we don't seem as dependent on God, I think our hunger should still be present. And it's challenging because we're human, because it's like, God, it's so funny. I remember talking to a friend and I was saying, like, I don't want to depend on God to pay my rent. And I understood what I was saying, and I think God understood what I was saying. But it's in my mind, I'm like, that's nothing. Can I depend on you for something else? Like, can I depend on you to enlarge my territory? Like, I'm currently in one city. Can I depend on you to have me speak to the nations? Can I depend on, for something like that? Like rent, it's nothing. Why are we focused on rent? Like that was that was a part of my conversation with God. But I also understood the purpose in it. Like, you got to trust me with the small things. If you can't trust me with the small things, what makes you think that you're going to trust me when it comes to the larger things? At least that's what it was for me.
But that's what
I know. I trust God to pay my rent. I am not ever going to say that. I am going to be like Jesus. Look, I need you to keep me right here.
Yeah, but no, I my heart, I feel you, Cameo, because that's what TD Jakes was talking about in that interview with Stephen Furtick. Like, we have to get to a point where we are doing enough of the works where I don't have to sit here and pray for God to pay my rent. Right? Like, I need to be doing my job. And so for me, when I say strategy and obedience is my job, like, I need to be doing that. So then I can pray about the other things. Like, okay, so let's get to, can I be, in front of the nation? When God does say your gift will make room for you. You know what I mean? He'll bring you amongst kings. So, okay, so let me get this bottom level. And we've already, what's his name? Pastor Darius Daniels says, God will let you live at whatever level you settle for. So if we've already prayed for this level and I've prayed up and I've leveled up and now I'm paying my rent, cool. Now I can move on. So now, because I already dealt with that, and I don't want to falter enough to where I have to go back and deal with that level again. Like, I want to stay on the next level. At least that's how I see it. I'm sure God is like, y'all can pray for whatever you want to pray for. I don't care. Like, I just want y'all talking to me. Fine. Yeah. But for me, it's like, I just want to be able to, just as a human, our capacity, I don't know that I can pray for 50 things at once. So it's like getting to that next level. So I 100% feel you. Like, after I'm off this level, it's not about, let me sustain this house, God. Yeah.
Because even with that, Reka, so one of the lessons too that I learned in that, when I talk about trusting God, and something I want to take with me into 2021 as the world opens back up, and I think a lot of us will be in a different space spiritually, financially, all this stuff. When I don't want to forget what I learned when I was in the wilderness, and that's what you want to call it. I don't want to forget that. But two, is this idea of peace, right? That we can have peace in those hard places just as much as we can have peace when we're on the mountaintop, because we understand though that money does bring us peace to a certain extent, right? Because my bills are paid, I don't have to worry about that. That money is a conduit for a lot of us for peace, and I get it. I also believe that God is also trying to, or at least for me, trying to relinquish that bondage to money like that, because I understand money is really not the thing that's bringing me peace, because it can be here today and gone tomorrow, and it's not real. Like, money isn't real. It's made up. It's a construct, right? If you guys get what I'm saying when I say money isn't, like, it's a piece of paper that we as a society added value to.
Yeah, we made it up. It didn't come from God. Like, we just made it up.
Yeah. And so it's not real. And so for me to depend on something that's not real, I don't like that feeling. I don't like the fact that I'm high off joy when I got money in the bank, and then I'm low when I'm not. I don't like something outside of me having that much control over my emotions. And so also what a part of that trusting God is that I will give you everything you need, and you have everything you need in any circumstance or situation. And so allow that peace to be present when you feel that you don't have. Allow that peace to be present when you feel that you're at your wit's end. And so I feel like that's something else I want to take with me.
Yeah, and I want to be clear. I want all the coins. I want all the coins, but I hear what you're saying. Like, I definitely got away from trying to get away from money being peace, but money is options. It gives you more options in the way that this world is set up. Yep. And yes. I 100% know you agree too. But I just wanted to be clear with that. I definitely know that I want
anti-money.
Right.
I am not
right. Exactly. Right. We are not anti, none of us on this at all. Like I want all the coins because I want to be blessed to be a blessing. And not to say that money is the only way that I can bless people, but in the way that this world is set up, yes. Like,
what is it? It's a Bible verse. The workman is wealthy, is worthy of his wages.
Yeah. So and again, the way we're set up in this capitalistic society, we need money. Today, and this will be a short story. My little brother, he still owes money on his car. He got in a car accident, and I asked him how much, and he told me, and I said, okay, you know what? I'm about to send you some money, and that felt good. To just be like, here you go. You don't have to pay me back. I don't need it. I don't care. I did that with my cousin a few weeks ago. He needed some money. So I was like, okay, here you go. But he paid me back with some interest. He was like, yo, I just really needed that at that time. You had no idea what I was going through. Cause I don't like to get into what you need it for. Like, cause I know, as long as I know you're not on drugs, I don't want to get into that because I don't want the embarrassment or shame of not having it be there. Mm-hmm. I just believe if somebody asks me for something and I feel called to do it, they need it. So here you go. Here you go. And I've learned with the $10,000 boyfriend, like when I'm giving money, it's just to give it and not to ask for it back. If they want to pay me back, great. But that feels good. And I want to be able to continue to, again, be blessed to be a blessing.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Carla, do you have any last words?
Any last words? Oh, well, I'm ready for Shot Girl Summer.
Wait, what is it? You said Shot Girl Summer?
Yeah, like I'm trying to make a trend, like Meg Thee Stallion has Hot Girl Summer. For all those who are vaccinated, it's Shot Girl Summer.
Yeah.
That was my basket. Clearly, I'm not a basketball player.
Cameo was like LeBron? Or what are we
We taking. We shooting our shots? Is that something?
I am ready.
That too, though, Cameo.
I may shoot my shot. Listen, I'm not gonna tell y'all this dream, but I may shoot my shot.
Girl, Shot Girl Summer. I think that this is definitely a time for well, let me not say that because I definitely have just been through some things with this guy from a dating app today. But
okay, so you're gonna group chat us there, right? Yes. Because we need to know the tea.
Yes, but okay. I think that this is a period where people are kind of, I would say, healthy people with some real sense are looking for connection and relationships. A lot of people are still out here playing games, but I think that this is a time to really kind of like just to shoot your shot and to have healthy connections. And I think we should be out here having Shot Girl Summer. I'm with it.
I done already told you, as soon as these coins come together, I am trusting and believing God for these other grants that I applied to. I am buying my ticket to go to New York because I need to be with Carla and I need to be on these dates that not to put her business out there, but listen.
Shot Girl Summer.
And I love New York, so I'm there.
Yeah, no, I think this is a good moment for people to kind of do the things that you never wanted or you never did before. Like, like try that restaurant, like I'm not going to bungee jump, but if you want to bungee jump, or if you want to like jump out of airplane, this is the time because I think we've realized how short life is and, things can change in a moment.
Baby bottom, a boot up.
Girl.
Listen. I don't know if I'm trying to be booed up. Like I do want to find my life partner, but at the end of the day, I want to, you said Shot Girl Summer. So if I shoot this shot and he's like, yeah, what's up? I'm like,
yes.
Oh my gosh, I wasn't ready. No.
You ready, girl.
I am. But thank you, ladies, so much for being a part of the Good Girl Podcast. I really appreciate you guys sharing your wisdom and your insight. I do not take it for granted because what we learn, like a lot of us have to learn that the hard way. And so if you're listening and you're learning this, understand that this isn't necessarily a lesson that you may not have to go through. take it from us. You don't have to hit your head a couple times. You don't have to, in Reka's words, have a $10,000 boyfriend. You know, you know, you don't have to doubt your self-worth. You don't have to be faced with fear over love or let fear lead your life. And also having a sincere relationship, what Carla said, with God. And then for me, trusting God. And so putting all these together, I just want to encourage everyone that's listening to take, you don't necessarily have to take our lessons. I think they're great lessons personally, but take these lessons and take the lessons that you have learned in 2020 and 2019 and hold them close to your heart, because it was something the world, Black people, white people, Asian people, everybody has experienced something like never before. This was an opportunity for us to come, I think, into a different part of ourselves. For a lot of us to have a genuine relationship with our family members, to reassess and examine our faith, to reassess the things that we depended on that, again, weren't that stable. So take these lessons into the rest of your life. Do not forget them, because I honestly, I don't want us to have this opportunity again, but but I don't think we're going to have this opportunity again. So thank you so much for listening to the Good Girl Podcast.